Couple of things I wanted to show you tonight. Probably one of the key ones is something that we did earlier this year. At the beginning of the year, our committee wanted to find out the digital presence of our Rotary clubs and our Rotaract clubs. We wanted to have a base to start with. So we found two members of our committee who could help us out. They stepped right up to the plate. So they became our public image, public investigators, PIPI. They checked out the websites and they checked out the media accounts. Their findings and their tips we've actually already put on our district newsletters, and it's on our website too for everybody to see. However, tonight they're here, they're live, and I wanted them to tell you just a little bit about what they came up with. So Rob MacArthur is going to talk about what the Rotary clubs came up with, and Everson Peters is going to talk about what the Rotaract clubs came up with. So Rob, go ahead.
All righty, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. So, well, thanks, Dave, for the introduction. And actually, I am a licensed private investigator in Ontario. I don't do it anymore, but well, except for Rotary. But it's one of those many certificates I have on my wall. So what they asked me to do was look at the 55 Rotary clubs and look at their presence. As you said, mentioned the website and everything like that. This was done in August of 2020. We have 55 clubs. We're not getting into the websites tonight, but some clubs did have some issues and indiscrepancies with their website, which could really hurt their visibility on search engines. So you might want to have somebody that knows websites to maybe look at that a bit for you, or contact me through email, whatever, and I can lead you through that. 62% of the clubs were using proper graphics on social media sites, with the biggest issue really being just the wrong theme logo for the year. It just hadn't been updated. Everything else was pretty well good. It was just, so make sure when the theme is changed each year that you update all your websites and social media sites with the right theme logo if you're going to use it. 35% of the clubs had social media links on the website. Now that's relatively low, because one thing you should be promoting on your website is how they can follow you and keep in contact with you on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, or a link to join your mailing list if you're using MailChimp or things like that. But a low percentage was doing that, so that's certainly something the club should look into. 27% of the clubs had the public image director listed on the website. I'm not sure if that's important, but it lets people know maybe who they talk to find out more about the club. As you send out press and media releases to news or TV, print, they'll possibly want to contact somebody to talk more about it, giving you some airtime, which is really important in increasing your exposure as well. Some clubs had more than one social media resource account, and that's bound to happen over the years as people come and go. So I found a number of clubs did have multiple Twitter accounts, Facebook not too much, but it's certainly something you should look into because that can be confusing. Clubs using Facebook was 85%, which is a pretty high percentage. And what I did is I looked at clubs that are posting at least once a month. Now, I personally believe you should be putting a lot more content out, but we won't get into that. But of the clubs that were using Facebook, 70% were posting at least once a month. On Twitter, 65% of the clubs were using Twitter, and 31% of the clubs were posting on a monthly basis. And what I also saw here, some clubs, and Facebook included, haven't posted anything for years, and they're still an active club. When people visit, that gives them the sign that maybe you're not around anymore or you're not doing anything, and that's not a great thing. So regular posts would be a good thing. And Instagram, which has certainly gained popularity, 40% of the clubs use Instagram, and posting at least on a monthly basis is 50%. Two other notes, there was one or two clubs that were using TikTok, which it certainly hit the demographic, and actually they were quite good. And Instagram is one thing that I don't think clubs are using enough. It's good contacts for corporate sponsors or corporate members and business professionals, and I really think more clubs should be using LinkedIn. And that is about the end of my report.
Good deal.
I think Everson will be talking about Rotaract, so I'll hand it back to you, Dave.
Okay, Everson, what did you find out when you looked at the Rotaract clubs?
Right, so I looked specifically at the Rotaract clubs, and I found my findings were similar to Rob's, but I'll just quickly go through some of the stats. So we looked at 12 Rotaract clubs, and we found excellent participation on Facebook and Instagram, with all of the clubs having a presence on those platforms. But there was...
Next page, Charlie. Next page, Charlie. There we are. Good. Go ahead.
Right, so there was a bit less of a presence on Twitter. On Twitter, there was only 42% participation of Rotaract clubs. And despite the fear to good social media presence, we found that clubs weren't posting very consistently. Posting ranged from 17% to 42% per month. So definitely there needs to be some improvement there. I'll go through quickly some of the things that we found really made some of the pages stand out. If you go to the next page. If you go next page, yeah. So we found that we think that some of the things that clubs should be doing is, one, including up-to-date information on meeting times. A lot of clubs have switched to Zoom or Skype, so that definitely should be updated. It's really important to include contact information for key members of the club, whether it be phone numbers, email addresses, website, etc. And lots of photographs on Facebook as well as Instagram, everywhere, because a lot of people, they don't really read, right? They just look at photographs. So the more photographs, the better.
That's true.
If you go to the next page there. Right, so some clubs, they had generic pictures. They found pictures, I guess, from the district websites and so on. But I think it's a good thing if you keep it personal and you post pictures with real members, real photos, real events, and include relevant information of club executives or members, as the case may be. Next page there. All right, the slides are showing a bit blurry. Is it showing clearly for everyone else?
No.
Yep.
No.
No? Okay. Yeah. Let me see if I could just put it up here because it's a bit blurry. So, right. So then we also looked at Instagram, and we found that the Instagram pages that were most successful had updated meeting information similar to the Facebook pages, and they made use of the platform to advertise their guest speakers and general meetings. Because, I mean, instead of just sending out plain old emails, it's really good if you could use the social media platforms to advertise. And some clubs use the platforms to let people know what they're doing with the money, what they're doing in the community. Some people might feel that it's boasting, but I think it's a good thing when you boast about your club, because you let people know about Rotary, and you shouldn't be shy in terms of letting people know what the good works that we're doing. And then, of course, as I think one other member from out east mentioned, it's really important to use Rotary approved logos and keep abreast of the updated logos and symbols. Include an interesting summary on your pages so that people you could grasp your audience. And then make use of the tools. There are a lot of tools that these social media pages have. So try to make use as much as possible. And of course, post very often. Like I think one of the major problems is that people wouldn't one of the major problems was that clubs weren't posting very often. So try to increase the posting. And those were just the key things that we found. Of course, there's always room for improvement all over.